Pro Group Management. Workers' comp that works for you.
Welcome to Nevada Newsmakers. We start off our show today with some news about the feds.
Sam, it appears that FBI investigation into lobbying practices is over. We'll discuss more of that on the pundit panel. On today's show, we're going to talk to Stacey Jennings, Executive Director for Nevada's Ethics Commission. Turns out they can't serve two masters. And then we're going to talk to Bill Brainerd, a Republican activist who wants to see the Republican Party unified. We'll hear about his new definition for a rhino. Sam?
And coming up on the pundit panel today, Bob Kroll, Chris Wicker, and John Galtney. It's all coming up next on the all-new Nevada Newsmakers.
Nevada Newsmakers, brought to you in part by Charter Communication.
The Abowd family has an appetite for dialogue. Agree or disagree, have the conversation. All opinions are welcome. Since 1977, Adele's.
Catch a straight, dine at 8, lucky you. Lucky you. Dance till 1, have some fun, lucky you. Lucky you. Taste the shrimp, have a sip, try the pool, play it cool. At the Sienna Hotel Spa Casino, lucky you.
The biggest risk your company can take.
Well, Barbara, you did very well on your interview.
Hiring employees can help your business get to the next level.
And your resume looks outstanding.
And it can also expose you to corporate crimes and costly lawsuits that can bring your company to its knees.
So, we'd like to offer you a position.
Before you hire another employee, hire the professionals at Employer Links. Call today to get our free CD-ROM, The Top 8 Risk of Hiring Employees.
If you own a business and want to maximize your company's potential, join the Retail Association of Nevada. Our membership benefits include the Nevada Retail Network Self-Insured Group, providing workers' compensation coverage that can lower your rates. That savings can go directly to your bottom line. We are an effective pro-business organization that lobbies on behalf of our business members. The Retail Association of Nevada, protecting Nevada businesses for 35 years. Call 882-1700 to see what we can do for your organization.
And now, back to Nevada Newsmakers with Sam Shad and Andy Engelman.
Today we're talking to Stacey Jennings. She's Executive Director of the Nevada Ethics Commission. Has been for the last 18 months. Before that, she was with Nevada's Dairy Commission. Stacey, thank you so much for being with us today.
Thank you, Andy.
Now, the Nevada Ethics Commission is something that all citizens can access for information or for making complaints. Is that right?
That's correct.
It's a statewide organization?
Yes, in fact, there used to be a ethics commission in the city of Las Vegas, but they disbanded that in December 2001. So right now we have jurisdiction over all public officers and employees for state, city, and county government, as well as those public officers and employees in the legislative branch.
Okay. There's a lot of questions going around these days, and I know you cannot comment on specific cases, and only the commission can make absolute decisions on things. But you do training for public officers in the ethics law, is that right?
Absolutely. That's one of the main jobs that I'm supposed to do under statute, is to go around to various cities, counties, whoever would like to have the training, and let them know what the ethics laws are, because our commission believes in a proactive stance that if we let people know about the laws, it's easier to keep them out of trouble in the first place.
Okay. Is it appropriate for somebody who's elected to office to also be paid at the same time by their employer for performing that function, such as someone elected to the legislature?
Well, there is actually a state law that does say that you're not supposed to be, and I'm trying to look at that right now. There's something in here that says that you're not supposed to accept salaries, retainers, or other compensation from private sources for the performance of your duties as a public officer. Now that doesn't, that answers that part of the question, but what you have to think about in situations like that is there some kind of a time segregation? You know, I mean, I don't know what the policy of the public employer or the private employer might be. Is the person splitting their days up or something? I mean, that there's always those kind of things.
Well, all right, that brings up an interesting question. If somebody's elected to the legislature, then during that time that they're serving in the legislature, not during the interim, but when it's in session, isn't that supposed to be their only consideration? Isn't that supposed to be their sole function, is performing that job for which they're then being paid by their constituents?
Well, you know, Andy, having worked at the legislature, I know there's an awful lot of downtime, you know, particularly at the beginning of session. I don't know whether these people that may be getting paid by other sources, whether it's a private company or a public employer, are actually segregating their time that way or if they're devoting their full time. But what we have to remember is our Constitution designs our legislature to be a citizen legislature. People do have to support themselves. As I recall, the legislative salaries aren't great. But, you know, if they are in fact violating state law and it's brought to, it's either an ethics violation or a criminal violation, and it's brought to the attention of the appropriate body, whether it's us or someone else, I'm sure that those things will be looked at.
What kind of punishment can be meted out by the Ethics Commission if someone's found guilty of violating one of these laws?
When we have an ethics complaint and someone is found guilty of violating the ethics laws and it's a willful violation, the first violation is up to a $5,000 civil penalty. The second willful violation or act leading thereto is up to a $10,000 civil penalty, and the third, and statute doesn't say in consecutive, but one must have to presume, is up to a $25,000 civil penalty. And that, plus if we find evidence of criminal wrongdoing in our investigation, then we would refer that to companion statutes just outside of the ethics and government law that do set criminal penalties for some of the things that are violations of our laws.
What would be willful?
Willful is knowing, and by the way, public officers sign when they go to office a statement that says they've read the ethics and government law, they know the things that are inappropriate, and a willful violation is something that someone has knowingly violated the laws.
So it's tough for somebody to come back and say, I didn't know that this was breaking the law.
Yeah, as I recall, we had that in the Phil King case. Do you remember that? It was before my time at the commission, but at one point Phil said he didn't know what the travel policy was, but that didn't stop the commission from saying, you should have known, you're the CEO of this company, you should have known what that travel policy was.
And what about using your position to get favors for friends?
That's something that the ethics and government law says that you're not supposed to do. It talks about commitments that you have in a private capacity to the interest of others and not going to get those people unwarranted privileges or preferences. And it defines who those people might be. But ultimately, if you're engaging in some kind of activity that's on the edge there and it comes to the commission's attention, the commission has to make that determination if that's the kind of relationship that would violate statute.
Okay, great. Stacy, thank you so much.
Thank you.
We'll be right back in just a minute with Sam and Republicans.
Hi, I'm Dan.
And I'm Terry.
And this is Dan's Pizza and Parlor. Everything we make here is from scratch. Our fresh cut fries, homemade hamburgers made to order, fresh pizza dough made with 3 types of flour, and Terry's secret pizza sauce, and Dreyer's world-famous ice cream. And if you have a sports team, your kids can really have a great time here. Oh! Dan's Pizza and Parlor on Victorian Avenue, just down the street from Great Basin Brewery next to Pyramid Highway.
Would you like to savor a Trento pork chop? Or maybe pasta rags with grilled chicken? Hugo's Tuscan Grill at D'Andrea is a celebration of color, flavor, and freshness. Each dish is created from natural, wholesome foods that is delicious and nutritious. Hugo's is a comfortable restaurant with breathtaking city views. If you enjoy great food and good company, visit us here at Hugo's. It's the best that dining can be. 2900 South D'Andrea Parkway in Sparks.
Welcome to Sushi Club, best sushi in town.
The Sushi Club in Independence Square uses the best quality products. The sushi is dynamite, and the service is just wonderful.
The Sushi Club is bigger and better. We have 11 sushi chefs on staff, and the service is great.
All your friends will tell you that Sushi Club is the best place for the best sushi.
Come join us for lunch or dinner.
The Sushi Club, 294 East Moana Lane in the Independence Square.
Now that's great sushi.
To experience the royal cuisine of India, you need some serious magic or simply transport yourself to India Garden, right here in Reno, where you'll discover Indian specialties refined over centuries. Seekh kebab, tandoori dishes cooked in our own tandoor oven, biryani specialties, curries, fresh-baked Indian bread, over a dozen vegetarian dishes, even dishes rare to India like dosa, South Indian-style crepes. India Garden off South Virginia near Sports West. We are India.
This is Nevada Newsmakers with Sam Shad, political analyst Andy Engelman on No Holds Barred Political Forum. Now, from the News 4 Broadcast Center, here's Sam Shad.
Is there dissension in the Republican House? Bill Brainerd thinks there is, and he wants to have a new form of unity within the Republican Party. He's the president of the Reno Sparks Republican Men's Club, and we welcome you to the program.
Thank you, Sam.
Bill, thank you for being here today.
Well, thank you for inviting me, Andy. I do want to make a little disclaimer, though, that when I'm giving any opinions, if I give any opinions, they're my personal opinions and not necessarily those of the Republican Men's Club or the party.
Okay, you're just speaking as an individual Republican.
I'm speaking as an individual Republican, trying to get a little unity within our party because we have some folks out there who are Republicans, but who seem to forget that at times.
In what way?
Well, we have a saying with some Republicans, and of course sponsored by the Democrats, something called a RINO, meaning Republican in name only. And yet, basically, as far as Republicans are concerned, after three basic things, national defense, less government, and individual rights, there is no such thing as a Republican. It's local. It depends upon who you are, where you're running, and the people within your district and your state and your country. That's my opinion anyway. And so I'm tired of hearing people call each other, I'm tired of Republicans calling other Republicans rhinos. You can understand why the other side says it, but we shouldn't be doing it.
Do you have a problem with the governor?
I don't have a problem with the governor. Frankly, I preferred the Hetrick Beers approach. However, you know, he's entitled to his opinion on his facts. I've spoken to him. In fact, I spoke to him last weekend. And he defends his program very well. I just happen to be much more of a fiscal conservative, and I would reduce government as much as possible. But that's the way I personally think. But would I vote for him again? The answer is yes.
Bill, what did you think of Senator Ensign disagreeing with the President of the United States when it came to the money for Iraq? He wants $10 million of that money to be repaid, $10 billion, excuse me, dollars to be repaid to us instead of letting Iraq just keep it as a gift.
A personal opinion again, I happen to agree with Senator Ensign on that matter. By the way, I disagree with Senator Ensign on other matters, but on this one, I think he's right on. But once again, announcing I'm a fiscal conservative, this is the way I think, and I think that probably they'll have enough money to pay us back with the oil that they have. It doesn't faze me to do that, although our president disagrees with me.
So it's okay for people in the party to disagree with their leader or with the president? Well,
that's my attitude and opinion. It isn't necessarily the opinion of some of the minority groups within our party who wish to take over our party, and it certainly does. The Democrats don't like it very much.
Is it tough to be a fiscal conservative in the Republican Party right now with the money that we're spending on a federal level? I mean, it just seems completely out of control.
Well, I don't think it's tough to be one. I think if you are one, you are one. Yeah, when you see government programs, especially, of course, we suffer from mandated programs without being properly funded. If that was your point, yes. Do I find that difficult? Yes.
That and $87 billion that we're going to spend in Iraq here in the current spending pattern, and onwards, probably for another decade, we'll be spending billions of dollars over there. At the same time, you're a fiscal conservative. You want to cut the size of government. You know, it just seems to be very tough to be a Republican right now.
Well, not necessarily. For example, if you're strong on national defense, you tend to support any efforts that we have, at home or abroad with regard to the military.
So you don't have to be fiscally conservative there?
I don't think so, because that's one of the major functions of government. You know, a lot of functions of government are not necessary. They should maybe be done by the parents, or they should be done by other organizations.
So we should be cutting, so to pay for this, we're going to have to cut services to our citizens in order to not be fiscally conservative. Is that correct?
Well, I suppose cut services, do we have to review what we're doing, and should they be maybe borne by the individuals? The answer, my answer is yes. But, you know, that's not a very popular answer, especially if any of your relatives are on some of these programs. But that, I think we have to look at it. It's a question of whether you can afford it. If you have the money, buy a Cadillac. If you don't have the money, buy a Chevrolet. And don't sit there and say, I really had a Cadillac once and I want it back. You know, if you don't have the money, that's what you have to drive.
But as far as the military is concerned, it's not a problem.
As far as what? I'm sorry?
The military is concerned, it's not a problem.
Well, you have to be.
I'm playing devil, I don't mean to be mean to you, but I'm just playing devil's advocate here.
Whoa, you're not being mean. Yeah, should you look at paying $300 for a toilet seat? The answer is yes. But, you know, in a military airplane.
You know, the reality of that was that money was not spent on toilet seats, but went into the black budget and was disguised there.
Well, since my uncle is dead now, yes, I know a little bit about covert financing, yes.
Andy, you want to get the last word in
here? You're going to have a unity dinner for trying to bring the Republicans together on November the 13th?
I certainly am, and thank you for mentioning it. Yes, I'm calling together the 7 other Republican clubs, and we're going to have a unity dinner at Harrah's on the 13th, and Jim Gibbons and his wife Dawn are coming. 5 of the 6 assembly people are coming.
Okay.
2 of the 3 senators are coming, and a whole bunch of folks.
And we're leaving. We're going to a commercial break. Thanks for being here, Bill. We'll be right back.
Thank you.
Before you head to Carson, take care of yourself with a visit to Tamarack Junction. Catch a hot cup of coffee and the morning news on one of our 32 TVs and enjoy the best food in South Reno. Tamarack Junction, your junction for fun. South Virginia and Amati Ranch Parkway.
The Abowd family has an appetite for dialogue. Agree or disagree, have the conversation. All opinions are welcome. Since 1977, Adele's.
Today's lesson, another reason to take the Gold Rush Club Card Challenge. With the Gold Rush Card, you really have 3 cards in one. Use your cash back. You still keep your comps and drawing tickets. Use your comps. You still keep your cash and drawing tickets. And with your drawing tickets, you could win thousands in cold hard cash every week. And still keep your cash back and comps. Does your club add up? Graduate to the Gold Rush Players Club. It's the smart thing to do. The Gold Dust West, south on Keystone, east on 4th.
When you sign up for Wells Fargo Free Checking, you get more than free checking. You get the freedom to bank when and where you want. Wells Fargo, the next stage.
Make your daily commute easy with breakfast or lunch at the Tamarack Junction. Enjoy daily specials, super fast service, and South Reno's freshest morning meals. Tamarack Junction, your junction for fun. South Virginia and Amati Ranch Parkway.
And now, back to Nevada Newsmakers with Sam Shad and Andy Engelman.
Okay, let's get you caught up on the latest on potential FBI probe.
Well, evidently the potential FBI probe is no longer possible. Neither Chad Christensen nor Kurt Brown seemed inclined to talk to the FBI. Without a victim, it's hard to have an investigation. It's now dead in the water. And I have an announcement to make. Today is my brilliant granddaughter's 18-month-old birthday. She can count to 2. Soon she'll be able to run for office and work for the city of Las Vegas.
Uh-oh. All right, let's start out, if we may, here with, before we get to talking about the ethics questions down south, let's talk about, does this whole FBI news story that came and is now gone mean anything to anybody in Carson City for the next legislature?
Well, I'd like to comment. I think, Sam, the question of the pressure in this last legislature and the image that's going out to the general public is not very good at this point. I think that.
But does it matter?
Yeah, I think it does. I think to my neighbors and people across the street and down the block and so on, I think there's a general feeling that there's something wrong. I'm not exactly sure that there's a coalescing of what that something is, but I'm convinced there are an awful lot of unhappy people who are not quite sure what happened or why it happened, and the public often doesn't want to ask what happened. I just want change. I want some sort of change.
Well, and speaking of change, I think one thing you look at is that think about the end of the last legislative session when you had lobbyists on the floor of the legislature practically grabbing legislators' hands and signing the bills. And this time you have such intense pressure that the FBI even got involved. Now, I think that means some kind of change has to happen because it's only going to get worse unless something changes. And how to change that, that's a difficult question.
I guess I take the opposite view. I think if the investigation is at an end, and this is a story without a punchline to it, and I don't see it as being a big issue.
I do hear a rumor, a pretty good one, that there may be some legislation requested and introduced in the next session. To whether or not it will ever go anywhere, of course, is another story. But I also hear that the public may look in the next election at who's contributing to what campaign and starting to ask candidates, how beholden are you to those contributors?
No, listen, I think that's absolutely correct. I think I've seen some poll numbers that are some rather startling numbers on whether incumbents should come back, and one of them said, would you like to re-elect your incumbent legislator? And 26% said yes, and 50% said anybody else.
Well, the problem in this state is that it's such a small state that a little bit of money and campaign contributions can have a huge impact. And one thing that is really not the fault of the legislators is how much it costs to get elected in a small state like Nevada. It just keeps going up and up and up. And they need to get the money somewhere to get elected. And
but isn't
that's the
okay?
problem.
But now you head up the Washoe County Democrats, right?
Yes.
Isn't that where people should start to get involved in politics and work their way up through the system, so that you can have them in a position where you get somebody who you consider to be a good candidate, but maybe not tomorrow, but 4 years down the road, and you start to groom them, you start to take them around and introduce them to the media. I mean, the media is always looking for a story. Isn't it incumbent upon you to produce those stories and help those candidates to get elected and take the money out of the system? Believe me, an assignment editor at every news department, including the newspapers, is sitting there waiting for a phone to ring with a good story idea on the other end of it.
Well, I agree 100% that, and that's really what we're trying to do this year. David Ward is our recruitment director, and we're trying to recruit candidates for every single office possible that we can on nonpartisan and partisan offices. But I don't think that answers the question of taking the money out of the system.
Well, it does, because those assignment editors are not going to charge you any money. And if you come up with a good story idea, they're going to listen to you the next time you call, and after about the third or fourth good story you come up with, they're going to rely on you as a source. Believe me, I'm in the public relations business, and I know that people are looking for good stories all the time.
Well, I'll tell you what, Sam, one thing that I couldn't help but notice at the last election, say the race between Maurice Washington and Joe Carter. Maurice Washington had the money to buy up all the airtime that last week before the election. And he overcame those huge, serious problems that he had, ethical lapses, et cetera, et cetera. He just blitzed the media because he had the money. And whether Joe Carter would have won or not, I don't know. But I do know that had a tremendous impact at the very end, and that was
Wouldn't
money.
disagree with you.
Well, I have to agree with Chris. I don't want to agree with him in that particular event because it sounds like I'm siding with the Democrats at this point.
Heaven forbid, John.
But the point of the matter is, it's that last week and a half when the public's attention is focused on the election, that the 15-second spot, the name recognition and the face, often get the return, and the real issues that you've discussed with those reporters and news personnel a month, 2 months, 3 months ago have often slipped away.
Well, I think the other side of the coin, though, is that where were the Democrats with their money at that point? If they thought that Joe Carter was a viable candidate, shouldn't they have put up an equal amount of money if the race was that close?
I have to tell you, Sam, the Democrats didn't have an equal amount of money. And, you know, I think that is a function of the parties and their related constituencies. I think the Democrats will always have to depend on grassroots and people being active, because I don't see that we'll ever have the same amount of money as the
Chris, the
Republicans.
gaming casinos gives far more money to the Democratic candidates and Democratic Party than they do to the Republican Party in Nevada.
I'm not certain that's the case.
I'm not sure that's right. I mean, I don't know. I'll have to admit that. I hate to say that on TV, but I don't know.
I'll go check.
All right, you want to pick up on the story down south?
You mean the Wendell Williams story? Okay, I think as everybody pretty well knows quickly, allegations that he used his position with the city to help the city while he was a legislator. He was collecting money from the city. He used his influence with the chancellor to try and get a job for his friend, his female friend. Guys, some feedback quickly.
I think this is tragic. I think it's absolutely tragic. However, I think the leadership of the legislature needs to work hard at policing itself. This man was not unknown, and his habits were not unknown at the time the session was going on.
Bob, you get the last word on this.
Not good for anybody. Not good for anybody.
Okay, and those are the last words. We'll be right back on Nevada Newsmakers after this timeout. He actually listened to me.
Big Apple Pizza, best pizza in Nevada, take one.
Today we're here, we're making homemade meatballs for a meatball parm. You like cheesesteak? I think you're like in South Philly right now. It's the best cheese ever made. Now that's how a Philly cheesesteak's supposed to look.
And here's little Cole.
This is authentic. We'll throw some pepperoni in here. Not gonna be shy about it. Yeah, I bet you guys didn't know I could do that. Don't skimp on the toppings. Authentic as it gets. Big Apple Pizza and Subs on the corner of Bering and McCarran. A New Jersey guy who knows how to make an East Coast pizza.
Would you like to savor a Trento pork chop? Or maybe pasta rags with grilled chicken? Hugo's Tuscan Grill at D'Andrea is a celebration of color, flavor, and freshness. Each dish is created from natural, wholesome foods that is delicious and nutritious. Hugo's is a comfortable restaurant with breathtaking city views. If you enjoy great food and good company, visit us here at Hugo's. It's the best that dining can be. 2900 South D'Andrea Parkway in Sparks.
Hi, I'm Dan.
And I'm Terry.
And this is Dan's Pizza and Parlor. Everything we make here is from scratch. Our fresh cut fries, homemade hamburgers made to order, fresh pizza dough made with 3 types of flour, and Terry's secret pizza sauce, and Dreyer's world famous ice cream. And if you have a sports team, your kids can really have a great time here. Oh! Dan's Pizza and Parlor on Victorian Avenue, just down the street from Great Basin Brewery next to Pyramid Highway.
Nevada Newsmakers, brought to you in part by Charter Communication.
You know, at some point, the political powers that be are going to figure out that creativity is just as important, if not more important, than money in campaigns.
Sam, you keep saying it. Why don't they listen?
I don't have the money, I guess.
Okay, should we change the name of the university system to Education R Us?
We'll talk about it tomorrow.